up or post in the Q&A section for me today. That's everything's working. You can see me, you can hear me, and you are ready to learn something fun and new together. There we go. We got a hand up in at least one of the categories, so I know we're ready to go. Alrighty, I am trying to see if I can get this thing to go live on YouTube as well at the same time. Appreciate your patience as we get everything up and running together. Looks like it's me in the same shirt that I'm wearing, so just gonna assume I'm on YouTube. All right, good morning. Welcome in to our second product training Friday of 2026 and the first product training in our new Zoom format. When I spoke to our co-host and guest speaker and set up the dates for today's training, I told her we're going to have to dial in. You're not going to be able to show anything. It's going to be a little analog and old school. And then I had to let her know yesterday as we got prepared, scratch that. We've caught up with modern times. We're on Zoom. All you got to do is register and we can have some fun together. Now, stay on till the end of today's training because I'm going to announce a bonus. Well, the co-host and I are going to announce a bonus that you will not want to miss. And if you want to invite another agent out to listen in today, they contract with the company that we're going to discuss and they qualify for a bonus. Yours is going to double. So if you bring someone that writes something, they'll get paid and you'll get paid. And I think you get where I'm going with that. Also, stay on till the end of the training today because even if you're not in a state where this carrier is, there'll be an option to make sure you qualify so everyone's treated equally. But obviously the point of the bonus is for those that can, do try out today's carrier training and one of our new carrier partners. Now, last week, we had the opportunity to review one of our core carrier partners to learn something new, to refresh ourselves on what they offered. And it was just us. Today, it's going to be even bigger and even better. Now that we move to Zoom, we can take this kind of training to the next level. Now, of course, if you're driving, keep doing what you're doing. If you're headed out into the field, ready to start when this is over, you don't have to change anything about what you do. You just listen in like normal. If you're somewhere where you can watch, awesome. And because this is either going to be broadcast live on YouTube or I'll post it later, you'll be able to watch and rewatch the training at your leisure and on demand. Now, as we get settled in today, I want to make sure we go over a little bit of the lay of the land, just so you're aware. As you guys know, there is a Q&A box in Zoom. In that Q&A box today, wherever it is, if you have a question, hence the concept of question and answer, post it in the Q&A section. If I have the ability to bring it up during the conversation, I will. If we don't have an opportunity to catch it, we'll make sure that the answer is provided to you in great detail or however it needs to be answered. Second, in the Slack chat right now, in our loyal Slack chat, is the link to register for the training that you're on right now. If you know someone that would benefit from listening in to some final expense training, send them that link, allow them to register, and have them check us out. I was watching a YouTube video from somebody else in the industry today, and the information they were giving wasn't bad, but it was mildly inefficient. It wasn't wrong, but it was relatively outdated. Now, I'm one to talk about being outdated, and I'm not necessarily saying, we're some kind of expert above everybody else, but I do believe the kind of conversations we share with people really do help them make money and start their day at the same time every day. So in the Slack chat is the link that you can share with somebody else to have them register, watch, and listen in. Second, before I bring out the guests today, since we are going to have the opportunity to call out our numbers, I thought that's somewhere in my notes. In the Q&A box, I'm going to highly encourage you to continue with the routine that we always do of posting your numbers. Since we don't have the chance to do it today in a call-out format, you can, in the Slack chat, at my great encouragement, post your numbers. The numbers, as you know, are your annual premium from yesterday. If you didn't write anything, it's okay to say 0, because that's going to motivate you a little harder to do that, to not do that today. Next, how many applications did you write? Obviously, volume is important, quality is as well. How many presentations did you give? A lot of times agents struggle because they just didn't see or speak to enough people. So it's annual premium. applications that you've written, presentations that you've given, how many Medicare plans did you write, and how much is left on your weekly goal. So, since we're not going to have the opportunity to call those numbers out today, I highly encourage, welcome, and request that you post them in the Q&A chat as we continue with today's conversation. Again, one more point. When I bring on this guest today, we're going to spend the first 10 minutes or so just very general conversation. Why is that? Well, this carrier may not be in your state. So I want to have a little bit of a conversation today with our co-host and our guest in a way that will make sure it's relatable to everybody. You know, what's important to a carrier? How do they look for quality? How can we write better quality? How can we make sure that we're being a good partner in the sales process? Remember, the sale of insurance is a three-legged stool. You, well, us and you, the clients, and the carrier. How can we make sure to balance that three-legged stool by understanding their side of it? Then we're going to dive into the carrier itself and the two products that I think are most important for us to learn. We may go into the 12th inning today. We're going to cap it out no later than 9:45 Eastern, but I want to budget a little bit of extra time to allow our guest and co-host to go into the conversation and topics she'd like to cover. Now, you're thinking to yourself, if this carrier isn't in my state, why am I watching or listening to this training? Well, here's why. In the old school era, a situation like this and a partner like this probably wouldn't have made a lot of sense. I can't write it in my backyard, or maybe you can't. But in a growing era of remote sales, just because they're not everywhere doesn't mean you can't benefit from having them where they are. Also, here's another thing. There's always something to learn in all kinds of training. And not to mention, how do you get a carrier in more places and in the place that maybe you are? You build a good relationship with them. You give them good quality business. And then when they're looking to spend a few $1,000,000 and add on a few extra states, you know what they do? They look at their existing distribution and say to themselves, oh, look, we've got people here, we've got people there, we've got people over here. Let's add this state, which could be your state. So it's absolutely worth learning, listening, and watching. And remember, at the end of the call today, you're going to get an opportunity to learn how you can earn an additional bonus outside of the January 5% bonus on your called out goal when we started the month. Now, without any further ado, as we work through a couple of the technical buttons to push, it's my pleasure to bring on in just a moment the Vice President of Life Distribution, Amy from Pekin Life. Pekin Life is almost 100-year-old insurance company whose heritage dates back to 1921, who was founded in Illinois and has an A- excellent rating from AM Best. Amy is going to join us in a moment, and there she is. And Amy, as we go through today's conversation together, the folks that you'd like me to bring on from Pekin to share with us as well, just give me a heads up as we go so I can promote them to panelists. Makes me sound pretty corporate, doesn't? You're promoting the panelists.
I know. It sounds like you're going on our side of the fence as a carrier with all these fancy functions and stuff. That's awesome. Yeah. I'm very happy to be here today. I am going to do my best. Chris and I did an interview on YouTube and it jiggled because I'm a hand talker and I keep hitting my stand-up desk. I'm going to try and not do that today to keep the screen stable, but thank you for that introduction. I appreciate it. Very excited to be here today. I do have a PowerPoint we're going to go over a little bit with the rest of the team. I've got our underwriter on the call, Tara Calloway, and I also have Eric Garland, our internal wholesaler. Both of them are going to be here. Chris and I talked before, relationships matter, and us giving you the resources, being available, being accessible is critical. We want to make your life as easy as possible, make your client's life as easy as possible, and we are committed to that. We are 100 years old, like Chris said. We are a property casualty company founded in 1921 by a group of farmers right here in central Pekin, Illinois. And in 1965, they expanded that into the life insurance. So we have been around, even though we may not be a household name in your neck of the woods. Do you want me, Chris? I can share our state map if you'd like to get started with that.
Yeah,
Um,
before we
I'm gonna
dive into
try.
the state map real quick,
Sure.
just briefly, so for all the folks that are listening in today can benefit from just a general overview of the three-legged stool and how we can benefit each other as agents and carriers. Yesterday we trained on quality, and quality in the is measured in placement and persistency and in monthly metrics and such. But in your experience from the carrier side of things, what does quality mean to the carrier? Like we know if the policy doesn't stay on the books for a certain amount of time, you lose money. But how important and how often and how talk about quality from the carrier perspective.
So I think that's why relationships are important so that we can make sure it's valuable to all of us to place that business. But we've mentioned before, and I've talked to you, we're in the business of risk. We're going to take the risk, but it's managing that risk. We've not been around for 100 years and have a surplus and assets that we have by not taking calculated risks. So quality business is very important. But again, you just have to be cautious of taking bad risk. And that's where building that relationship and understanding the clients is really important, so that we can maintain that stability that we've had for so long.
Well said. Understanding that independent space can be a challenge for a lot of carriers. There's a lot of big name companies that just want to have a final expense product to say they have it and have
Right.
no idea of really what happens in the home or over the phone. You guys have a good understanding of the industry in general. When you decided to reemerge in the independent space, partner with distribution like Heartland, um, what kind of encouraged you guys to get back into the independent side of sales and make relationships like this?
Sure. So it's our distribution has since 1965 been property casualty agents who are cross-selling to life. And we really feel that on a life company, when the property casualty market goes up and down and follows the economy, and we had lots of storm patterns that were negatively impacting our property casualty distribution. And so we'd worked with Heartland for probably 10 years, but it was kind of just like this side thing. So about 3 years ago, we sat back and decided we are great at life insurance. We have wonderful products. We have wonderful support. But we need to diversify our distribution to protect our book, and not be so focused and reliant on that property casualty and feel the impacts of their market. And that's when we, kind of put all in focus for the life company on let's build this broker distribution and work with agents like you and your team that are, that you're not trying to sell a property casualty business. You're focused on life insurance. And I think that's really important.
It's interesting. There are carriers out there that have come and gone, some quicker than others, some quicker than we expected, some that just ran their course and their time ended. There's carriers out there that make things so hard it wouldn't make sense to partner with them. There's others that are just like, nah, we don't really want your business, but you guys want it. You're texting, you're calling, you're reaching out, you're offering bonuses. You're really motivated to work with us, and I think that deserves a moment of recognition as well. Before we get knee deep into the particulars of the product, the state map and such, is there anything else that you think would be beneficial from the carrier side of things for an agent to understand? Because there is kind of a divide between what happens in our realm and what happens in yours.
And I think it's important that we try to blend that and make that from the field to in-house seamless and there be a connection there. We want to be your partner in the back shop while you're working with a client. We want you to reach out to Tara, the underwriter, when you've got a case, field underwrite with her, to avoid those surprises with your client. Get a feel for what Pekin's about, what our underwriting guidelines look like, so that you can confidently place applications with us. And then Eric Garland is an amazing internal wholesaler. So I think it's important. Don't feel like you're out there in the field alone trying to work with that. You do have a partner back at the home office assisting you with those cases. So take advantage of our team, to make that seamless for everyone.
Well said. As we transition over into some visual aspects now that we're on Zoom, remember in the Q&A section, wherever that box went, you can ask a question as we go, and we'll answer it if we have the time. If not, we'll make sure you get your answer in the future. I highly encourage and request you post your numbers from yesterday so that you remain on routine with what you did, how you did it, and how much you have left on your goal. So, Amy, if there's anything I have to push to get screen shares up and running, let me know.
As a panelist,
Otherwise,
I think I can share as a panelist now. If you want to let Eric and Tara in, oh wait,
sure.
I have to send a request. It says requesting, so it sounds like you should get.
Perfect.
Got it?
Yep. and then I will bring Eric on as you bring up some stuff for us to take a look at as well. There we go. I have pushed the button to bring Eric in on the panelist side. And who is the third person I'm looking for, Amy?
Tara, Tarrah, Tara Calloway.
Alrighty, we got somebody on an 803 number. If that is Tara,
I don't
give me
think
a
that
thumbs
is.
up or a wave. If it isn't, I don't want to bring on someone that didn't think they were coming on. But there it is. There's Tara. Alrighty. There we go.
Okay.
Promote the panelist. I am really good with
Look at
technology. I'm just
that.
kidding. Just kidding. Not that fancy. Alrighty. We got Tara on. We have Eric on, and we're going to get into the weeds of Pekin life. And remember, stay on to the end of the training. Or if you're
Yes.
watching, watch till the end of the training because YouTube really likes it. I appreciate it. And you'll learn about a bonus opportunity available through Pekin. But also, if you're not at a Pekin state and you only sell face to face, for our agent partners, we'll make sure it's fair to you guys as well. All right, Amy, Eric, and Tara, I'm going to turn the mic back over to you.
I'm going to go through this. I want to be respectful of your time. So some of these I might go through a little faster than the others, but thank you for having us. Quick introductions. Again, Amy Darling, Vice President of Life Brokerage. We've got Eric Garland, our internal wholesaler, and Tara Calloway, our underwriter, available today. Uh, Financial strength. I've kind of touched on this before. Our company was founded in 1921. Our life company AM Best rating is A minus excellent. These numbers were from the end of 24, so we'll have our 25 numbers soon, but we ended 24 with 1.4 billion in assets and a surplus of 115 million. So, we don't have debt. We have the surplus, so we are very financially strong. Let's skip over that. So we have the basic portfolio of term, a simplified issue, whole life, which I think would play really nicely in this space. It's kind of just that step above a final expense, and we'll go through that. We have just the traditional whole life and then transitional life. And that's what kind of is a differentiator here. You're not going to find this anywhere else in the market. So we're going to go through a couple of illustrations on that, a few that I think will really resonate with this group that works in that final expense space. We have the basic writers and then the long-term care. I think when you're working in that senior market or even 50-ish market, this long-term care writer, I think you're going to think is very fascinating. So transitional life, it's unique, it's exclusive. You're not going to find it anywhere else. It's going to set you apart in the marketplace for sure. So what is it? It is a term policy with a whole life rider, and you can completely customize it to fit your client's budget. And I think when you see the illustrations I show, it's really going to hit home the flexibility the product has and the way you can use it in a lot of different scenarios. So how does it work? You're going to choose your face amount. You're going to choose how long you want that high dollar term face amount to be in place. And then how much you want paid up at the end. Yes, paid up, fully guaranteed cash value at the end. What amount do you want there? And then the writers. And I am going to just touch really quickly on the long-term care writer. We can do a follow-up session training specifically on these, but that you can add a long-term writer to any of our permanent products. And the value of this is it's not a use it or lose it like a traditional long-term care. It's also not nearly expensive. You'll see that on the illustrations as a traditional long-term care. But by putting this on the policy, the client's going to be able to access 5% a month for long-term care benefits. So should they need it, they can access that coverage and acceleration of that death benefit for long-term care. If they don't need it, they've paid $15 a month for coverage and they still have the life insurance in place. So here we go. Transitional life. So this first scenario is going to be for someone who has purchased a vacation home. They have a second home. They want to have it paid off by the time they retire. But if they don't, they want to make sure that their children don't have that debt and they want to keep that family home, vacation home in the family. So we're going to walk through a 40-year-old male, lives in Alabama. He is wanting his term coverage up to age 65. And he wants $300,000 up to age 65. That's going to be, $384 a month in coverage. Now, the reason why that's so much is look at he also, at the end of that term, at age 65, he is going to have a $250,000 paid up whole life coverage. He's added that long-term care rider for $15 a month, and that's included in the 384. But here's where this product really is fascinating. At the end of 25 years, at age 65, he has a cash value of $123,000. He's only paid 115,000. So he could walk away with this product right now with 25 years of coverage and more cash value than he put into it. But that wasn't his intent. He wants to have this protection in place. After that 25th year, look at the premium, zero. It changes to zero. But he selected, when he took this policy out, a $250 whole life paid in full policy where the cash value continues to grow.
Hmm. So in a lot of ways, that worked as a 25-year term, which isn't even that easily found on the market as well. Am I reading at least the very
Yes.
basics of that correct, Amy?
Yep, you're right.
Okay. Awesome. Keep going. Didn't want to interrupt you there.
No, no, please stop, interject at any point. So this one, I wanted to show a little different scenario. This might resonate more with your client base. 55-year-old male. You know, he's got some debt. He's got credit card debt, maybe some medical expenses, things like that. He thinks he's going to have all that paid off by retirement, but if something happens before that, he does not want to leave $200,000 in debt to his family. So he's purchased a $200,000 policy up to age 65 premium paying. His end of term benefit is only 50,000 because once he hits 65, he's fine with that coverage going down to 50,000, but he still wants something there for his final expenses. He did go ahead and add the 5% long-term care rider for that $50,000 whole life amount, $14 a month. So in this case, 10 years of coverage of 200,000. He's paid 24,697. Now this one's a little different. He did pay 36,000, so he's basically paid $10,000 for 10 years of coverage of 200,000, which is still a pretty good investment. But look at this again. After age 65, premiums stop. They're zero. But he selected a $50,000 kind of a final expense, a high-end final expense coverage, and that cash value is just going to continue to grow. So this kind of shows that flexibility of how that face amount can be as large as you need it, as small as you need it, and then that paid up at the end is flexible as well. So I'm going to skip this one. I'm just going to go through it pretty quickly. This is a 25-year-old female. It could resonate with your client in the space of gifting to a grandchild or child, ensuring their insurability. But this is another case. They purchased 250,000, a 200,000 paid up at the end. It's only 144 a month. So in this case, they've paid 69,000 in premium, and at the end of that term, they'll have 90,000 in cash value. So I'm going to do one with a long-term care writer because we have had a agent who is going back to his clients that he sold 10, 15 years ago, a standalone long-term care policy. Markets change, they need more coverage. He's increased the coverage. So he's going to them, 75-year-old male, a $50,000 whole life policy. And for $34 a month, there they have long-term care access of 5% a month. And at any point, you've got the guaranteed cash value and the option for a reduced paid up. Another scenario, 65-year-old female, $100,000 in coverage, $276. Again, she's leveraging that long-term care rider, and those options exist of a cash value or the reduced paid up.
Real quick, Amy, I want to jump in with one quick thought and our first question in the Q&A section today.
Absolutely.
You guys are thinking to yourself, they may be at a state that you're in and you live in. Do you have insurance? Remember, if you're selling a product or a concept or insurance in general and you don't have it, you're mildly hypocritical. I mean that in a loving and respectful way, but weekends are great opportunities to review what you have and make sure you have what you're selling, regardless of your age, health, or budget, because when you sell it on yourself, in many cases, the first year is free anyway, and I mean that in a ethical way. Second, when it comes to products like this that might be slightly to the right of your final expense wheelhouse, remember, your final expense clients have children, grandchildren, and an entire lineage in many cases, and with a good referral situation, you can work your way down the family tree. I remember years ago, I got a lead, Amy, and the client was like 86, 87, 88, maybe even 90. And I texted my upline, and I'm like, I want lead credit. This is terrible. I can't do anything with this. Terrible attitude. And you know what he said back to me, Amy? He said, Well, doesn't she have kids that are probably 60 and grandkids that are probably 40 and great grands? Like, I'm like, all right, Evan, I get the point. And
It is.
remember, your war market. Don't be an undercover agent. You got a ton of other opportunities product wise that may not necessarily be final expense in your war market, but might be other products like we're looking at today. Amy, the question in the Q&A, which you guys are welcome to post and we'll answer if we have time. Shannon asked if the long-term care is needed during the term period, is the long-term care benefit the 5% of the term side or the paid up face amount of face like the paid up side?
Fantastic. Fantastic question. I love it. That's a very good call out. So it is on the whole life portion of the policy. So I'll go back to one of these here. Um, so in this case, this person had the $200,000 paid up. That's the whole life permanent portion. That's what they can leverage the long-term care on. So the scenario where we only had 50,000 at the end of term, they would only have 50,000 available for the long-term care. But it is available essentially from day one. Now, I say day one, but if you've got a long-term care claim on day one, we might have a little issue there that we have to look
Uh-oh.
at. But yes, that's an excellent question.
Alrighty.
Okay, let's get back to hope I'm not hurting anyone's head spinning so quick. I want to make sure we get through the highlights here. And again, we can follow up with another session specifically on any one of these topics. So the simplified issue whole life, I think this one is going to be closer aligned with what you're selling in a traditional final expense type of policy. So it is going to be three simple questions on the application. There's no medical. It goes up to $24,999. The rates are extremely competitive up against the final expense, but these people have to be a little healthier than final expense. We're not talking perfect health, it could be a little overweight, a little heart, a little diabetes, but we've got Tara. She can expand on what I mean by a little healthier. But this is a great product, and if you've got and you're vetting it out with your client, you realize, gosh, they're not final expense health level. They're a little healthier. We highly recommend you giving this product a try because the rates every time agents in that scenario, they're blown away with the rates. So here, for example, we have a 75-year-old male. He took the 24,999, and the premium is 187 a month. And then another 80-year-old male, 24,999, 272 a month. So the rates are extremely competitive for that age range. Okay, that was very quick. I realize that, but I want to give time for Tara because I think you're going to love what she has to say. So, Tara, I'll drive because we just got the one slide. But if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, I'll get you over to your slide.
Yeah,
While we're
absolutely.
bringing Tara on real quick, we have another question in the Q&A section. And since this is a new format for us, the more interactive we make it, the more fun,
Love
exciting, and beneficial I think it brings our agent base. So appreciate your guys as we take some questions live. Don Wilson, one of our folks, really great remote agent, really excited to learn about other options in the market, asks, what age and coverage amounts does the accelerated underwriting go to on transitional life?
I think, Tara, did you plot that question? That's going to tee right up into what Tara's about ready to cover. I feel like she was plotting that. But yeah, that's
Yep.
what she's going to cover. These are the underwriting guidelines for term, transitional life, and whole life. So she's going to hit you right now with that.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
what
I
we
can
call
touch on it. And
perfect
then
transition.
if
Yes.
there's any other questions on it, I'll be able to answer after we kind of touch base on where Pekin's underwriting competes and we win. So non-medical, which is no paramed or labs, that is up to 250,000 for all ages. So you have, a 55-year-old wants 200,000 in coverage. They're not going to have a lab or exam that they need to have completed. And then up to 500,000 for our ages up to ages 40. So you have a 35-year-old, they want 500,000. Unless they're applying for our best rate class, which is ultra preferred, we won't require the lab and the exam be completed on that as well. And that is for the term, whole life, and the transitional life. And then to speak on the simplified issue that Amy had briefly touched on, that is for those lower face amounts. You have an older person who might have diabetes, hypertension, maybe a little overweight. and they don't want, $100,000 in coverage. They just want that low face amount. This would probably be the best product for them. It is approved based on 3 medical questions. Um, and we do still run a script check report and motor vehicle report on the simplified issue as well. So my advice, if you are doing a simplified issue, just make sure you talk to your applicant about the prescriptions. No matter what they're on, even if it's something mild like hypertension, we will need to know what those medications are because we'll see it. So to kind of avoid some back and forth with our agents, we just suggest make sure you reiterate that we will see the prescriptions. So even if they've been on it 25 years, we still want to know that they've got it, in their medicine cabinet essentially. That way we don't have to go back and say, due to the script check report, we found that they may be on a medication for high blood pressure. And then it kind of goes back and forth at that point. So I do suggest kind of just reiterating to your applicants that we do see a script check report. So even if they think it might be just something mild, we will still need to know what it is, and we just need to know that those conditions are well controlled. Another
Sarah,
thing that really, oh, sorry, go ahead,
no,
Amy.
go ahead. I was going to say about the comment section. I think it's really important. There's so many drugs out there today
Hmm.
that are used for a wide spectrum of things. So we always encourage, if you've got medications, use that comment section. Hey, they're on this for pain for XYZ versus
Hmm.
something, a higher psychotic type of medication. But the more information you give and can share at the application time, the quicker the underwriting is going to go through.
Yeah, especially when you run into those cardiac and the mental health medications. I mean, medications can be used for high blood pressure to heart failure. So obviously, we would need to know what those medications are taken for. And if you have a client where you're not sure if they would qualify, whether it's for the simplified or the transitional, definitely don't hesitate to reach out to me. That's what I'm here for. Whether it's via phone call, email, whichever you prefer. Um, that is another thing that really sets Pekin apart from other carriers is you do have direct access to me. So I am the designated underwriter for our broker agents. Um, and we do like to strive to be, quick with our not only our communication but a review of information, whether it's the application review, medical records review, paramed review. We do try to keep that turnaround under 7 business days. Um, it usually is quicker than that, but we do like to say 7, just to, kind of give
Sarah
us
gets
something
them
to
usually
think
done
about.
in 2 days, but
Yeah.
we say 7, so there's no one's disappointed. But she's a
Yeah.
rock star.
Real quick,
Um,
Sarah, are we
yeah,
gonna? I don't
absolutely.
want to jump into the next slide because I don't know what the next slide is, but I'm
Sure.
hoping one of the things we cover in our next 12 minutes would be the 3 questions on the simplified product.
Yep. Yep.
Oh,
So the
good.
first question is going to be we just need to know that they're not confined to like a medical facility, nursing home, they're not receiving home health care, and they're not terminally ill. So essentially, as long as they can answer no to that question, the e-app you'll be able to continue the e-app. The next question is it's a very generic open question. It includes blood pressure, diabetes, cancer. I mean, it includes everything in one question. So that's like Amy said, that's where you'll want to utilize the comment section. So, of course, someone's going to see diabetes and cancer in one of those in that one question. So they're not going to want to answer yes to that if they're being treated for blood pressure. But you definitely want to answer yes no matter what the medications are. And then the comment section is where you'll put just treated for hypertension. They're on lisinopril under control. And then the third question, it's a generic question as well. If you've been treated or you're currently under treatment for um, any medical conditions that aren't included on the application. And again, that's where you utilize the comment section. And it is a smoker, non-smoker rate too. So we don't have different rates for it. If they use a tobacco product, it's going to be a smoker rate. If they don't, then it'll be the standard rate. And that's just for the simplified issue. As we transition to the next slide, as you can see, our rate classes, it is ultra preferred is going to be the best class that we have, and that does start out at a minimum of 500,000. And no matter the age on that, we do require the paramed if they're applying for ultra preferred. And then the super preferred is kind of in the next tier down. Preferred under that's going to be, your people that they don't qualify for the super ultra preferred, but they don't it could potentially be table rated. Just depends really on the medical conditions and the underwriting. Your preferred tobacco is going to be cigars, Zim packets, chew, snuff. Smoker is going to be those inhaled types, so the cigarettes, e-cigarettes, vapes. Um, and that, yeah, as you can see, the our preferred is the industry standard too. So I know that can get a little confusing because our wording is a little different, but our preferred rate is the industry standard.
That's okay. I mean, real quickly here,
Sure.
there were carriers that didn't rate for cigars, chew, and pipes in the past. So some of our old school agents are familiar with delineating what you're smoking versus just if you smoke. And we're not talking about crack cocaine. A real question in the chat right now, Don Wilson asks, I hope I'm not asking a repeat question, but if an individual is not approved for term, whole life, or transitional per se, will they be counter offered the simplified issue products? Or if they're not approved for one thing, are they declined for everything, which is how some carriers practice?
So essentially, if someone is going to be declined for the term or whole life, it's probably going to be a decline for the simplified issue as well. The simplified issue, we would only write up to a table four. It's already fixed into the premium, so it's not like you would be an additional premium on top of what you would quote. But say someone's build is a table five rating, that would be a decline for the simplified issue. Whereas if you know that they're going to be rated a table five for the term or the whole life, we can offer up to a table six on the term.
I
So,
think
relatively speaking, they're all kind of chassised on the same underwriting
Hmm.
considerations.
Yeah, because we do run the same underwriting tools behind the scenes for all of our products. So the script check report, motor vehicle report. So if they were declined for the script check report for a term, it would be declined for the script check report on a simplified issue as well.
Okay, I think that answers that question, Dom. If that doesn't, feel free to ask more because we're keeping it fun, interactive, and continuing on with today's training. Go ahead, Tara.
And the other part of that is if you submit as preferred and they come at a higher, they do adjust that up too. So in a positive way, it will be so unless you're very comfortable that they are a very healthy individual, a lot of times it's best to go in at the preferred rate, and then we're going to leverage that if they're better health than what anticipated. I know we are getting low on time. If there's other underwriting questions, please drop them on the chat, or we can do another session strictly on underwriting. I want you to meet Eric Garland. I don't think we're going to have time for him to do the demo, which is very sad because our illustration system is super slick, super easy. But Eric, instead of doing a demo, do you want to just say hello, let him know what you're all about, and we'll keep this moving and stay within the time.
Hello, I'm Eric Garland. I am your internal wholesaler. And what on earth is an internal wholesaler? I'm your front line of defense. My job is to support you, really. Um, I make sure you understand the products, how to quote them, how to get into an e-app. I try to track your business from beginning to end. Usually I'll help you get it pre-qualified. I'll keep an eye on it all the way through the underwriting process and even till it's delivered. And I'm just your place to start with for all things Pekin.
Appreciate it.
Eric. And when we send, I'm going to send you, Chris, the link that you can share with the team to our page. It has all things Pekin. And within there, you will be able to also register. Eric does orientations every week. He does one-on-ones, he does team trainings, but we also have a webinar that's available, live webinar. There usually are small enough groups that they're completely interactive and he can open up the mic and really dig into, like he said, all things Pekin and get them Pekinized. Okay, so with that, I have a very exciting announcement to make outside of the exclusive loyal insurance contest. This is our Champions Getaway incentive for this year. If you take a look at the production levels, completely achievable. As an individual producer, if you place 50,000, yes, only 50,000 with Pekin Life this year, you're going to Punta Cana with us next spring. So excellent contest. If you have a team, excuse me, you can leverage your production with your team's production to earn a trip at 100,000. And then Chris, 200,000, you'll come to Punta Cana with us as well. So very exciting information there.
You guys, if you haven't ever focused on qualifying for a trip, it is one of the benchmarks, hallmarks, and trophies you can put on the wall of credibility as a personal producer. And as a year starts, this is really a time for you to be looking at trips and carriers to focus on so that you have an opportunity to really give yourself a fair shake. If you haven't qualified for a trip, they're fun. If you don't enjoy traveling, I'm sorry, that's not me, but trips are absolutely fun. Carriers treat you well and great things for you to focus on. Go ahead, Amy.
So I know if you're on your phone, you can't do the QR code, but we'll get you an access to this. So I realize if you're not on a laptop, this QR code is not very helpful, but I'm going to stop sharing there. As Chris mentioned, we are very excited to get this partnership going, and we truly believe in our product. We believe in our service. And with that, we feel like if you give us a try, if you send us 10 apps in a month, you know what? You're going to figure out if it fits in your portfolio or not. We believe we do bring something of value to the table, but give us a try with 10 apps and send us 10 apps in 30 days. We're going to send you $100. So, it's a win-win for everybody. We get a provide you our exceptional service. You get to give us a try and you get $100. And better on top of that is when you place 7 cases, we're going to throw in an extra $250. So we'll have a flyer that I'll give to Chris. You can reach out to him. If you want to be part of this, we'll get your 30-day clock going and hopefully get some money out to you.
You got it. Remember, if you are in the field and not in a Pekin state, just like me, I have 4 kids, so they all have to have the exact same amount of Christmas presents or something strangely particular to be fair to everybody. If you're not in a Pekin state and you're in the field and you try something new, because we're trying a lot of things new this year, you'll qualify for an equal bonus just to be fair. But if you're in a Pekin state, you got to write Pekin. And if you bring somebody on that writes Pekin within your hierarchy, and they qualify for the bonus, I'll double the bonus on your behalf as well. We have a question in the chat, Amy, in our final few minutes. If you could throw up the state availability map and answer that question for Trad, it would be very helpful.
There you go. This is on our webpage as well. The solid green states are where we're live today. You can go out this afternoon and sell to a client in any of these states right now if you're contracted with us. I know we have a few of you. Hopefully you're on the call. Looking forward to get more of you contracted. The stripe states are probably our next phase of expansion. Those are states that as a carrier, we're already approved. That is where our property casualty agents are currently selling life insurance. So those are going to be some quick states. We're actually presenting to the board in February a state expansion plan. So very soon, we hope to fill in some of those striped states with solid green. And I love what you said, Chris, because you're absolutely right. When we looked at our next states, we looked at the partners who are engaging with us, who are writing with us, and that's where we're focused. And that will continue to be true because we want to give our partners what they need. And if you're at the table now with us, we want to bring you along with all the other new states as well.
That means Delaware, Maryland, and that Delmarva Peninsula. That's technically
Uh,
an island if you really get into the rabbit hole of
yeah.
geography in life, but we're going to love you to highlight that section in the
Okay.
coming months and years ahead.
Got it.
Alrighty. Any final thoughts you guys want to leave us with? I do have one other question if we have time to get to it, or comments from you guys that are here with us.
Okay. Do they use APS and what percentage of cases are those being pulled on? Terry, you want to speak to that on the ones that we need to get medical records?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we do utilize medical records. I would say the percentage we probably do order them about on at least like probably 50% of cases. It really just comes down to, what may come up in the underwriting. So the script check report, medical history. If someone has several conditions but still qualifies for coverage, we're going to want to get those records just to make sure, everything matches the information we have and that everything's under control. I will say we have started utilizing electronic health records, and the turnaround time for those has been significantly shorter than your traditional medical record request. Not to say if we get an electronic health record, it doesn't include all that information we need. We'd pivot to a full APS, but yeah, we've had a lot better turnaround time with those electronic health records recently.
Well said. Remember, guys, bonus opportunity available. We'll post that flyer in the Slack chat for your excitement. And for those of you not in a Pekin state, don't be unexcited. It'll qualify in a different way for you as well. But most importantly, remember, partnerships matter, quality is important. And as I would always say on a Friday, don't let it go to waste. be profitable, be productive, put money in your bank account, and feel like you put a full week's work in so that when the week is over, you can be happy, celebrate, relax, or look at your business and say, I guess we're going into overtime because that's okay too. Pekin folks, appreciate you guys being on today. Loyal folks, thank you for starting your week with me. And if you're, or your day with me, and if this is all new to you and you're just checking us out and you want to move forward, let me know. If you're considering us, glad you came in, and share the link so people all around the industry can come in to just some free training every morning at 9 a.m.